The massive crystalline dome of the Galactic Council chamber glittered with the light of 3 artificial suns. Inside, thousands of alien representatives from across the Milky Way sat in rising tiers, their forms varying from gelatinous masses to insectoid carapaces to floating gas clouds contained in specialized suits. The chamber buzzed with tension, whispers in hundreds of languages creating a background hum that the universal translators struggled to filter. At the center of it all stood Commander Jackson Reed, a solitary human figure dwarfed by the imposing 7-member High Council. His weathered face showed no fear, only quiet determination as accusations echoed through the chamber. This was humanity's first formal appearance before the Council since achieving faster-than-light travel just 15 Earth years ago. The human military action on Proxima Centauri IV constitutes a violation of Galactic Charter Section 7.3, boomed Archmagistrate Vrul, his tentacled form pulsating with indignation. The massive alien skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation. Explain how a mere 12 of your kind eliminated an entire battalion of Drazic mercenaries, the most feared warriors in 3 spiral arms. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing footage of human soldiers moving with impossible speed through alien terrain. The gathered representatives murmured in shock as they watched the humans adapting instantly to changing battlefield conditions. Fighting in darkness, underwater through toxic gas clouds and in crushing gravity without hesitation. A Drazic mercenary, nearly 9 feet tall with armored plates and 4 arms equipped with plasma weapons, charged a human soldier half its size. The human dodged with startling speed, using the Drazic's momentum against it before delivering a precise strike to a vulnerability no outsider should have known existed. The mercenary collapsed. "The Council misunderstands," Reed responded calmly, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. "We did not seek this confrontation. The Drazic forces attacked our scientific outpost, slaughtering civilians, including children. We responded with appropriate force." "Appropriate?" hissed Counselor Nixthar, her scaled skin rippling as she rose from her elevated platform. The serpentine diplomat's forked tongue flicked out, tasting Reed's pheromones for signs of deception. 12 humans against 300 elite mercenaries is not appropriate. It's impossible. The footage must be manipulated. Reed's eyes narrowed. With respect, Counselor, impossibility is something humans stopped believing in long ago. We evolved on what you classify as a Class 12 Deathworld. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Those who survived became adaptable. The chamber fell silent as Reed activated his own holographic display, revealing Earth, beautiful, blue, and utterly lethal by galactic standards. "Our gravity crushes most of your species," Reed continued, indicating gravitational readings that made several counselors shift uncomfortably. "Our atmospheric oxygen would poison half the beings in this room. Our bacteria and viruses evolve faster than many of your civilizations. Our planetary radiation levels alone would sterilize 30% of the council races." The holographic display shifted to show Earth's varied environments. Hurricanes with winds that would flay the skin from most alien species. Oceans with crushing pressure and predators evolved for millions of years. Deserts where the temperature fluctuations between day and night would kill unprotected visitors. Our special forces, don't fear your environments, because nothing you can throw at us compares to what Earth already did, Reed stated, his voice steady but firm. The Drazic mercenaries learned that too late. A new recording played the Drazic commander mortally wounded, transmitting his final message. "They adapt to everything. They don't stop. Our thermal weapons were useless. They kept fighting through burns that would kill any rational species. Our neurotoxins had minimal effect. They're not soldiers. They're something else. Whatever you do, don't engage the humans. They're not worth any payment." The council chamber erupted into chaos as delegates realized the implications. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were evolutionary survivors from a planet that would kill most galactic citizens in minutes. "Order," demanded Grand Arbiter Zol, the eldest council member, his crystalline body refracting light as he rose. "Commander Reed, your explanation raises more concerns than it addresses. If what you say is true, humanity represents a potential threat to galactic stability." Reed stepped forward, hands open in a universal gesture of peace. "We come as explorers and neighbors, not conquerors. But understand this, we will defend our people. The Drazik weren't destroyed because we wished it, but because they left us no choice. Counselor Trelm, a being composed of interlinked neural strands floating in a containment field, pulsed with skepticism. Yet your species has expanded to 7 star systems in just 15 years. Your resource consumption patterns suggest aggressive colonization. We sought uninhabited worlds, Reed countered. When we encountered the Mithran Concordat at Delta Pavonis, did we not establish peaceful trade? When the Phlox Collective asked for medical assistance against the Crimson Blight, did we not provide it at risk to our own people? The holographic displays shifted to show humans working alongside various alien species, building settlements, exchanging knowledge, treating alien ailments. The incident with the Drazik was an aberration, Reed continued, but it reveals a truth the Council must accept. Humans are adaptable because we had to be. Our soldiers trained to survive conditions that would kill most species, because that's what our homeworld demanded. We don't seek conflict, but we are prepared for it in ways unique to our evolutionary history. Archmagistrate Vrul's tentacles curled with agitation. You stand before us speaking of peace while demonstrating capabilities that unsettle the entire Council. How are we to trust beings who can eliminate the galaxy's most feared mercenaries, as if they were untrained younglings? Reed stepped back, considering his words carefully. The next few moments could determine humanity's place among the stars. Trust is earned, not demanded, Reed finally said. I propose this. Allow a Council delegation to visit Earth, see our world, our people, our culture, judge us by who we are, not what we're capable of in our darkest moments. The Drazik saw only our capacity for violence because that's all they sought from us. I invite you to see more. The Council members exchanged glances, their various anatomies expressing emotions unique to their species. After a moment of silent communication, Grand Arbiter Zol spoke. Your proposal has merit, Commander Reed. The Council will dispatch observers to Earth to assess humanity's true nature. Until then, no judgment will be rendered regarding the Proxima Centauri incident. Reed bowed slightly. Thank you, Arbiter. We welcome your observers. As the Council session adjourned, Reed was approached by Diplomat Krell, a tall, spindly alien whose translucent skin revealed shifting organs beneath. Impressive performance. Commander, Krell said, voice pitched low. But you should know, not everyone on the Council fears what they saw today. Some are intrigued by your species' potential. Reed raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning there are factions who see humanity as valuable assets rather than threats. The Drazik were hired by interests who wish to test human capabilities without revealing themselves. The results exceeded expectations. Reed's expression hardened. Our people died in that test. And now the galaxy knows what happens to those who threaten humanity, Krell replied. A lesson some will heed and others will challenge. Prepare yourself, Commander. Your species has just become the most interesting new players in a very old game. As Krell glided away, Reed gazed around the chamber, suddenly aware of hundreds of alien eyes studying him with newfound interest. Humanity had survived its trial before the Council, but a greater challenge loomed. Navigating the treacherous politics of a galaxy that now saw them not just as newcomers, but as potentially valuable weapons, and they'd only just begun to explore the stars. 3 months after the Council hearing, alarms blared through the mining colony on Rigel 7, a contested moon rich with rare minerals. The emergency lights bathed the prefabricated structures in pulsing red as colonists rushed toward shelter bunkers. In orbit, a fleet of Krell Dominion warships had appeared without warning, deploying dropships filled with mercenaries. Lieutenant Abigail Torres stood at the colony's command center, watching tactical displays with narrowed eyes. Her Phantom Squad, 8 Special Forces operators, had arrived just hours earlier, responding to intelligence about a possible attack. Now they were the only military presence defending 200 civilian miners. Vex Consortium ships identified, reported Specialist Marcus, his fingers flying over the holographic interface. They're backing the Krell mercenaries. This is a corporate takeover, not a random raid. Torres nodded grimly. The Vex Consortium, a powerful coalition of corporate interests, had hired the infamous Krell Dominion to pacify the resource-rich moon, where humans had established their mining operation. The diplomatic crisis had been brewing for weeks, but no one expected such a direct assault. Atmospheric readings show they're deploying xenon methane gas mixtures, Marcus continued. They're trying to make the environment lethal to humans while maintaining optimal conditions for Krell biology. They've done their homework, Torres said, unslinging her pulse rifle. But not well enough. Phantom Squad, prep for external deployment. Breathing gear check, but be ready to operate without it. Her 7 teammates nodded, understanding the implication. The Krell, reptilian warriors 8 feet tall with natural armor and enhanced biometric implants, had established a blockade around the colony. Their commander, Thrax, had fought across 100 worlds but had never encountered humans in combat. He was about to learn why that was a mistake. The squad moved through the colony's service tunnels, emerging at the perimeter just as the first Krell dropships landed. The alien atmosphere swirled around them, a toxic mixture that would incapacitate most species within minutes. Masks on, but remember your training, Torres instructed. 20 seconds unassisted in this atmosphere before you need to cycle. Make them count. The Krell emerged from their ships in formations of 10, their scaled bodies protected by advanced armor. They moved with practiced precision, clearly expecting minimal resistance from what they assumed were vulnerable humans, trapped in a hostile environment. Torres gave the signal, and Phantom Squad attacked from multiple angles simultaneously. The Krell's first indication that this wouldn't be a standard operation came when sniper fire from Specialist. Dawson struck their formation with pinpoint accuracy, hitting breathing apparatus attachment points and joint seals that no off-worlder should have been able to identify. Impossible, growled Thrax from his command position. Those are concealed vulnerability points in our latest armor design. His second-in-command, Verak, checked sensor readings. The humans are adapting to our atmospheric deployment. Their vital signs should be showing stress, but they're maintaining combat efficiency. The Krell advanced toward the colony's main habitat dome, expecting the humans to retreat into the pressurized environment where they could breathe normally. Instead, Phantom Squad split into pairs, flanking and striking from unexpected directions. Torres demonstrated the human capacity for adaptation when her breathing apparatus was damaged by Krell fire. Instead of retreating, she removed the mask entirely, holding her breath as she continued combat operations. The Krell soldiers hesitated in shock. No species they'd encountered could function in this atmosphere without assistance. In that moment of hesitation, Torres eliminated 3 mercenaries with precision shots before ducking behind cover to grab her backup breathing gear. They can operate in our optimized atmosphere, Thrax realized, watching tactical feeds with growing concern. Command said humans require strict environmental parameters. Their biology is more adaptable than our intelligence suggested, Verak replied, observing a human soldier continuing to fight effectively despite injuries that would incapacitate a Krell warrior. They're using the extreme cold to their advantage while our troops struggle with their cold-blooded physiology. The temperature had dropped to -40 degrees, deliberately engineered by the colony's environmental systems under Phantom Squad's direction. The humans moved with increasing speed while the Krell slowed, their reptilian metabolism struggling in the cold. Torres led her team in a flanking maneuver, deliberately exposing herself to draw enemy fire away from a group of colonists being evacuated from an outlying structure. She took a grazing hit that would have incapacitated most species, the energy weapon burning through her armor and into her shoulder. The Krell who scored the hit expected her to fall. Instead, Torres turned and eliminated him with a 3-round burst before continuing the evacuation operation. Their pain tolerance exceeds anything in our database, Thrax noted with growing unease. And they're adapting our own weapons against us. He was right. Specialist Rivera had captured a Krell sonic disruptor and was reconfiguring it on the fly, adjusting frequencies to target the specific resonance of Krell armor plating, something the weapons creators had never intended. By the 3rd hour of the assault, the Krell mercenaries had suffered 40% casualties while failing to secure even the outer perimeter of the colony. Phantom Squad had lost no members, though 6 of 8 had sustained injuries that would have killed most species. This is not a winnable engagement, Verak advised, presenting Thrax with updated battle projections. The humans are not just surviving our environmental weapons, they're turning them to their advantage. Thrax watched as Torres's team used the colony's water reclamation system to flash freeze a corridor, creating an ice wall that trapped an entire Krell strike team. The humans then methodically eliminated the trapped mercenaries with minimal ammunition expenditure. The contract did not disclose we would be facing Deathworld adaptations. Thrax finally acknowledged. Signal the retreat. We will regroup in orbit and reassess. As the Krell forces withdrew to their ships, Torres and her team secured the perimeter, ensuring the evacuation of all remaining civilians to the colony's central bunker. Medical nanites worked to repair their injuries, burns, lacerations, fractures that would have ended the fight for any other species. In orbit, Thrax composed his report to the Vex Consortium executives who had hired the Krell Dominion. The humans don't just survive. They weaponize survival itself, he wrote, mandibles clicking with residual stress. We weren't fighting soldiers. We were fighting the evolutionary champions of a killer world. My forces encountered humans operating effectively in toxic atmospheres, continuing combat functions despite injuries that would terminate other species, and adapting to extreme cold that should have provided us advantage. He hesitated before adding the final assessment. The Krell Dominion respectfully withdraws from this contract and recommends diplomatic resolution. No payment is worth engaging these Deathworlders again. They do not fight by any rules we recognize. The Vex Consortium executives were furious, but the message spread quickly through mercenary networks across the galaxy. Avoid contracts against human military forces, particularly their special operations units. The risk calculation had fundamentally changed. Back on the colony, Torres received a communication from Earth Command as her team helped colonists repair damage from the attack. Lieutenant, your defense of Rigel 7 has significant diplomatic implications, General Rodriguez informed her. The Galactic Council has taken note. They're sending observers. Just doing our job, sir, Torres replied, wincing as a medic treated the energy weapon burn on her shoulder. The Krell expected us to fold when they deployed atmospheric toxins and extreme cold. They didn't understand who they were fighting. That's becoming a pattern, Rodriguez noted. The Council's starting to realize that humanity's evolutionary history makes us unlike any species they've encountered. Your Phantom Squad just added another chapter to that education. Torres watched her team helping colonists, their injuries being treated even as they continued working. Humans had always been like this, adapting, surviving, refusing to quit when other species would consider a situation hopeless. What happens now, sir? She asked. Now? Rodriguez's expression was grim but satisfied. Now the galaxy learns that picking a fight with humans means dealing with creatures who evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day for millions of years. The Krell won't be the last to try us, but each encounter spreads the word. Mess with humans and you get more than you bargained for. As Torres signed off, she looked at the toxic atmosphere still swirling outside the colony dome. To the Krell, it had seemed like the perfect weapon against humans. They hadn't understood that humans came from a planet where adaptation wasn't just a skill, it was the price of survival. And they paid that price a long time ago. The oceanic world of Hydra Prime rotated slowly beneath the stars, its vast blue surface occasionally broken by chains of volcanic islands. From orbit it appeared peaceful, beautiful, a water world with minimal landmass but abundant marine life, the perfect place to spring a trap. Major Dominic Reyes stood on the bridge of the UES Poseidon, studying holographic displays of the planet below. His Echo team, 6 elite Marine Special Forces operators, had been dispatched to respond to a distress call from a research vessel studying deep-sea thermal vents. As the most decorated Marine unit in Earth's military, they were prepared for standard threats but unaware they were walking into something far more complex. Signals coming from the Mariana Trench analog, Lieutenant Park reported, pointing to a deep ocean canyon that plunged nearly 12 kilometers below the surface. Pressure readings are off the charts. Would crush standard vessels at that depth. Reyes nodded, his weathered face revealing nothing. Good thing we don't use standard vessels. Prep the Leviathan submersible in full pressure gear. We go in hot. What Echo Team didn't know was that the Galactic Council, alarmed by humanity's growing reputation after the incidents at Proxima Centauri and Rigel 7, had secretly authorized the Myriad Collective, a specialized force of aquatic telepaths, to assess Earth's military capabilities. Their plan? Capture a human special forces team for study, using the research vessel as bait. The Myriad leader, High Nexus Title, watched from the ocean depths as the human rescue craft descended through the water column. His translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns communicating to his warriors. "They come as expected," Tidal transmitted telepathically to his forces. "Remember the intelligence briefing. Humans have minimal aquatic adaptations and no natural telepathic defenses. Their technological advantages will be neutralized at this depth. Capture, don't kill. The Council requires specimens." The Leviathan submersible continued its descent, its reinforced hull designed to withstand pressures that would crush most alien craft. Inside, Echo Team performed final equipment checks. "Something feels off about this," Sergeant Rivera commented, adjusting her pressure suit. "Research vessel with that hull rating shouldn't have had problems at this depth." "Agreed," Reyes replied. "Stay alert. Park, scan for unusual electromagnetic signatures or communication patterns." Park ran the scans, then frowned. "Major, I'm picking up low-frequency oscillations that don't match known natural phenomena." "Could be." The attack came without warning. Massive tentacle-like appendages emerged from the darkness, wrapping around the Leviathan's hull. Simultaneously, a wave of telepathic force slammed into the minds of Echo Team, a psychic assault that would have instantly incapacitated most species. The Myriad expected immediate capitulation. What they got instead was something unprecedented. Echo Team showcased humanity's psychological resilience, their minds shaped by Earth's predator-rich environment, making them resistant to telepathic attacks that would incapacitate other species. The Myriad discovered too late that human brains, evolved to detect threats and process fear, created mental feedback loops that overwhelmed alien telepaths attempting to establish connection. "Their minds," gasped a Myriad warrior, his telepathic voice strained. "So much noise. Constant internal dialogue. Parallel threat processing. I can't establish dominance." High Nexus Tidal pushed harder, focusing his species' considerable mental powers on Major Reyes specifically. For a moment Reyes staggered, his vision blurring, but then his expression hardened, and to Tidal's shock the human began to actively resist. "Weapons free," Reyes ordered calmly. "We've got telepathic hostiles. Rivera, deploy psionic countermeasures." "How are they still functioning?" Tidal demanded as the humans activated devices that generated interference patterns across telepathic frequencies. "The pressure alone should be debilitating to land-evolved species." The Leviathan's external weapons activated, forcing the Myriad to release their physical hold. But Tidal wasn't done. He signaled his forces to implement their contingency plan. A massive pressure wave that would disable the human craft without destroying it. "Breach in Sector 7, Park called out as warning lights flashed. "Hull integrity compromised." Water began streaming into the submersible as the pressure differential created microfractures in the reinforced material. The Myriad watched expectantly, waiting for the humans to panic as their environment became lethal. Instead, Echo Team moved with practiced efficiency, sealing off the affected section and donning specialized breathing apparatus. Most surprising to the watching aliens, the humans showed no signs of pressure sickness despite the rapidly changing conditions. "Impossible," one Myriad scout transmitted. "Their bodies should be experiencing nitrogen narcosis, oxygen toxicity, and high-pressure nervous syndrome simultaneously. Their species evolved to handle extreme pressure differentials," Tidal realized. "Their circulatory systems are adapting to conditions that would rupture our vessels." Echo Team wasn't just surviving. They were preparing a counterattack. Reyes demonstrated why humans were feared when he deliberately ordered a controlled flooding of the submersible's main chamber, allowing his team to exit the vehicle directly into the ocean. They're exposing themselves to open ocean at this depth? Tidal couldn't believe what he was seeing. The cold alone should immobilize them. The Myriad discovered another evolutionary advantage humans possessed: cold shock, proteins and brown adipose tissue that allowed Echo Team to function in near-freezing temperatures where other species would rapidly lose motor control. The humans moved through the water with specialized propulsion gear, their bodies protected by suits that distributed pressure evenly while allowing flexibility. They carried weapons specifically designed for underwater combat, another surprise to the Myriad, who hadn't expected humans to have developed warfare techniques for such environments. "Target their communication devices," Tidal ordered, realizing the humans were coordinating despite the telepathic interference. Without coordination, they'll be vulnerable. But Echo Team had trained for communication loss. When their standard systems were disrupted, They seamlessly switched to prearranged hand signals and light patterns. Their training on Earth, in environments ranging from Arctic waters to deep-sea trenches, had prepared them for exactly this scenario. Reyes led a flanking maneuver, using the ocean currents and thermal gradients to mask their approach. The myriad, accustomed to dominating aquatic environments, found themselves facing a species that treated water not as an alien element but as just another tactical environment. The confrontation reached its climax when the myriad commander attempted to use overwhelming pressure as a weapon, manipulating underwater currents to create a crushing vortex around the humans. To Title's astonishment, Echo Team used their maneuvering thrusters to ride the currents instead of fighting them, conserving energy while positioning themselves for a decisive strike. Their tactical adaptation exceeds anything in our database, Title transmitted urgently to his forces. Retreat to the secondary position. We need to reevaluate, but it was too late. Echo Team had identified the myriad's neural cluster, the central hub of their hive mind, and deployed targeted electromagnetic pulses calibrated to disrupt their telepathic network without causing permanent damage. The effect was immediate. The myriad collective consciousness fragmented, individual warriors suddenly cut off from the shared mind that guided them. In the confusion, Echo Team secured the missing research vessel and its crew, actual scientists who had been captured to use as bait. As the myriad forces retreated into deeper waters, Title attempted one final desperate gambit, a direct telepathic connection with Reyes, hoping to at least extract information about human military capabilities. The moment their minds touched, Title experienced something no alien telepath had ever reported: a feedback loop of human survival instincts, millions of years of evolutionary responses to threats, and the psychological conditioning of special forces training. The combination overwhelmed his neural pathways, forcing an emergency disconnection. "What are you?" Title projected, his mental voice weak as his forces retreated. Reyes, somehow sensing the question despite lacking natural telepathic abilities, activated his external communication system. "We're humans," he replied simply. "We evolved on a planet where everything, land, sea, and air, tried to kill us. This," he gestured to the crushing depths around them, "this is just another Tuesday for Echo Team." Hours later, the UES Poseidon broke orbit, the rescued research team safely aboard along with Echo Team. In his mission report, Major Reyes detailed the encounter with the previously unknown alien species, noting their telepathic abilities and apparent connection to the Galactic Council. Unknown to the humans, a recovered myriad communication was being reviewed by Council security forces. The assessment was troubling. The humans' minds are as dangerous as their bodies, shaped by millions of years of survival against planetary threats we cannot comprehend. Their brains process fear and threat response in ways that create the red dust of Mars swirled across the training grounds of Olympus Base, the massive human military facility built into the side of the planet's largest volcano. Inside the command center, Colonel Elena Kovac watched satellite feeds with growing concern. A fleet of unknown vessels had dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system and was now on direct approach to Mars. "Identification?" she asked, her voice steady despite the implications. "Hegemony of United Systems design," replied Lieutenant Diaz, studying the sensor readouts. "But they're running dark, no transponders or recognition codes. And they're accompanied by ships matching profiles of the Void Warden's mercenary group." Kovac's expression hardened. The Hegemony, a powerful alliance of technologically advanced species, had been notably silent during humanity's recent conflicts with mercenary forces. That they would now appear with the Void Wardens, the galaxy's most elite mercenary force, suggested a significant escalation. "Alert all personnel," she ordered. "Full combat readiness, and get me a direct link to Earth Command." As Martian Defense Battalion prepared for possible attack, the Hegemony fleet maintained its approach. Aboard the command vessel, Admiral Zeltharis observed the red planet with compound eyes that processed visual information in spectrums humans couldn't perceive. "The humans have detected us," noted his executive officer. "They're mobilizing defenses." "As expected," Zeltharis replied. "Ensure the Void Wardens understand their parameters. The Council wants the human special forces neutralized and their training facility secured for study. Minimal civilian casualties." The executive officer hesitated. "Admiral?" After what happened to the Drazik and the Myriad Collective, should we reconsider? The Void Wardens are the best credits can buy, but these humans have proven unusually resilient, Seltharis chittered in amusement. The previous failures occurred because our intelligence was incomplete. Now we understand what we face. Primitives from a high-gravity Deathworld with certain biological advantages. The Void Wardens are equipped with technology that negates those advantages. This will be a simple operation. On Mars, Kovacs received her orders from Earth Command. Defend the base at all costs, but take prisoners if possible. The hegemony's direct involvement represented a major diplomatic breach that would have serious consequences there. Launching during the dust storm, reported Captain Wells as the first enemy ships entered the Martian atmosphere. Visibility will be near zero. They think the storm gives them cover, Kovacs replied, a grim smile forming. They don't understand Mars yet. The Void Wardens deployed an assault craft that cut through the howling dust storm, their enhanced armor designed to function in virtually any environment. Their commander, War Executor Tiberius, was a veteran of 100 campaigns across dozens of worlds. Remember your briefings, he instructed his forces as they prepared to land. These humans have certain biological advantages derived from their high-gravity homeworld. Compensate with gravitational disruptors. Their visual systems are limited. Use spectrum warfare. Their atmospheric dependencies make them vulnerable. Deploy composition scramblers. His forces acknowledged the orders with perfect discipline. The Void Wardens weren't merely mercenaries. They were cybergenetically enhanced elite warriors equipped with adaptive armor and weapons designed to counter any species' natural advantages. They had never failed a contract. The first wave landed 3 kilometers from the main base, immediately deploying gravity generators that created localized fields twice Earth's normal pull. In standard operations, this would immobilize most species, forcing them to struggle against their own weight. Gravity fields active, reported a Warden squad leader. Moving to Phase 2. Inside the base, Kovacs monitored the enemy deployment. They're using gravity weapons, she noted with something approaching satisfaction. Activate countermeasures. When the Void Wardens advanced through the dust storm toward the human facility, they expected to find defenders struggling against the artificially enhanced gravity. Instead, they encountered Martian Defense Battalion soldiers moving with unexpected speed and agility, their powered armor compensating for the gravitational shift. Impossible, muttered Tiberius as he watched the combat feeds. Their equipment shouldn't be able to adapt so quickly. What the Void Wardens didn't understand was that humans, whose bones and musculature evolved under Earth's substantial gravity, continued functioning in conditions that would shatter other species' skeletons. Moreover, Mars Defense Battalion specifically trained in variable gravity conditions, from the 0.38 G of natural Mars to the 3G environments of their specialized training chambers. The gravity weapons are ineffective, reported a field commander, switching to atmospheric composition scramblers. The next wave of Wardens deployed devices that altered the local atmosphere, creating pockets of gas mixtures toxic to human biology. Under normal circumstances, this would force the defenders to retreat or don specialized breathing gear, slowing their response. Colonel Kovacs had anticipated this tactic. They're deploying atmospheric weapons, she alerted her forces. Implement Protocol Olympus. The human defenders activated integrated filtration systems that had been designed specifically to handle Mars' unique atmospheric challenges. More significantly, they began using the dust storm itself as a weapon, allowing the powerful Martian winds to disperse the enemy's atmospheric alterations while obscuring human movements. Tiberius watched in growing frustration as his forces' technological advantages failed to produce expected results. These humans are not responding according to biological profiles, he growled. Initiate thermal warfare protocols. The Void Wardens activated systems that created extreme temperature differentials, pockets of near absolute zero alternating with zones of intense heat. This tactic had broken the defenses of dozens of species who couldn't adapt quickly enough to the rapid temperature changes. What followed demonstrated why alien mercenaries feared humans. Kovacs and her forces used Mars's harsh conditions, the very elements that should disadvantage them, as weapons. The Martian Defense Battalion had trained extensively for temperature extremes, their bodies conditioned to function in the planet's natural temperature swings that could exceed 100 degrees Celsius between day and night. They're adapting to the thermal weapons, reported a Warden tactical officer, disbelief evident in his voice. Their physiological readings show stress but no performance degradation. Tiberius activated his direct neural link to his forces. Converge on the main facility. We'll take it directly. As the Void Wardens pushed toward the human base, Kovacs implemented the next phase of her defense. They want to test us in our own environment, she told her officers. Let's show them why that's a mistake. The human defenders activated Mars' automated defense grid, not targeting the Wardens directly, but instead triggering precisely calculated seismic charges in the unstable Martian terrain. Massive dust avalanches cascaded toward the advancing mercenaries, the fine particulate matter penetrating even their advanced filtration systems. The dust is interfering with our systems, reported a Warden squad leader, his forces suddenly struggling as the microscopic particles infiltrated joints and seals in their armor. It's getting into everything, even the sealed components. This was another aspect of Mars that the attackers hadn't properly accounted for. Martian dust wasn't just dirt, it was extremely fine, electrostatically charged and mildly corrosive. Humans had spent decades learning to engineer around its effects. The Void Wardens were experiencing its full impact for the first time, in combat conditions. The battle shifted dramatically when the Void Wardens' gravity weapons malfunctioned, creating localized zones of crushing force that affected their own troops. To their horror, they watched as human soldiers, moving with practiced efficiency in their environment, adapted gear, systematically isolated and neutralized. Warden forces caught in the malfunctioning gravity fields. Their tactical adaptability exceeds all projections, Tiberius acknowledged as he assessed the deteriorating situation. And they're turning our own technology against us. The confrontation peaked when Kovacs' battalion demonstrated humanity's unique ability to reverse engineer alien systems during active combat. Human tech specialists, protected by their combat teams, captured several disabled Warden gravity generators and recalibrated them to create low-gravity corridors that allowed human forces to move with enhanced speed and strength. Fall back to secondary positions, Tiberius ordered, recognizing the battle was lost. Prepare for orbital extraction, but Kovacs had no intention of allowing the mercenaries to retreat cleanly. They came to our home, she told her forces. Make sure they understand what that means. The Martian Defense Battalion pursued the retreating Wardens relentlessly, using their superior knowledge of the terrain and environmental conditions to cut off escape routes and isolate enemy units. By the time Tiberius managed to extract his remaining forces, the Void Wardens had suffered unprecedented casualties, nearly 30% of their deployment either captured or eliminated. Aboard the Hegemony command vessel, Admiral Zeltharis received Tiberius's report with mounting. The orbital station Olympus rotated serenely above Earth, its massive habitat rings gleaming in the sunlight. From Observation Deck 17, General Maya Wilson gazed at her homeworld, blue oceans, swirling clouds, the place that had shaped humanity's evolution and propelled them to the stars. As Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, Wilson bore responsibility for protecting not just the planet below, but all human settlements throughout explored space. Today, that responsibility felt particularly heavy. General, we've confirmed the intelligence, reported Admiral Hayden, sliding a secured data tablet across the conference table. 5 mercenary legions are en route to Sol system. The Crimson Talons, Eclipse Daggers, Void Specters, Quantum Fists, and Nebula Wraiths. All hired through anonymous proxies, but Council fingerprints are all over this. Wilson studied the data without visible reaction, though internally her strategic mind was already calculating possibilities and contingencies. The 5 mercenary groups represented the most feared combat forces in the galaxy, each having dominated dozens of species and hundreds of worlds. None had ever failed a contract. Their target? She asked, though she suspected the answer. This station, ma'am. Specifically, Earth Defense Forces command structure. They want to cut off the head. Wilson nodded, unsurprised. After the incidents at Proxima Centauri, Rigel 7, Hydra Prime, and Mars, the Galactic Council had clearly decided that humanity represented too great a threat to their established power structures. Rather than risk open war, they were using mercenaries to eliminate Earth's military leadership. Time to arrival? Approximately 12 hours, General. They're coordinating their approach through the Oort cloud to avoid early detection. Wilson stood, walking back to the viewport. Earth rotated below, oblivious to the threat approaching from the darkness beyond. The mercenaries expected to find a fortified station, heavily defended but ultimately vulnerable to their combined strength. They would be anticipating standard defensive protocols, predictable responses. "Implement Protocol Prometheus," she ordered, her voice calm but carrying absolute authority. "Evacuation of non-essential personnel begins immediately. Essential command staff remains on station." Admiral Hayden looked startled. "General, Protocol Prometheus involves deliberately allowing enemy forces access to—" "I'm aware of the protocol's parameters, Admiral," Wilson interrupted. "The mercenaries believe they're launching a surprise attack. Let's surprise them instead." As the station's evacuation proceeded with military efficiency, Wilson gathered her command staff to explain the strategy. Rather than fortifying the station against attack, they would allow the mercenary forces limited access to Olympus, drawing them into carefully prepared environments designed to neutralize their various advantages. Each mercenary legion has specific physiological characteristics and combat specialties, Wilson explained, displaying tactical holograms. "Our advantage is that we've studied them extensively while they still underestimate human adaptability. The Coalition, led by the Crimson Talons, Eclipse Daggers, Void Specters, Quantum Fists, and Nebula Wraiths, approached the Sol system believing they had achieved tactical surprise. Their commanders had coordinated their assault meticulously, each legion assigned to specific sections of the massive station. What unfolded over the next 10 hours was a masterclass in human strategic thinking. As the mercenary ships docked with Olympus, their initial boarding parties encountered only token resistance, enough to draw them deeper into the station without arousing suspicion. The Crimson Talons, silicon-based warriors with incredible resistance to heat, were channeled into sections where Wilson's forces had prepared environmental traps customized for their specific weaknesses. As they advanced toward what they believed was the main command center, station systems suddenly elevated, atmospheric pressure to levels that stressed even their crystalline physiologies. "The humans are manipulating environmental systems," reported the Talon commander as his forces began experiencing stress fractures in their silicon-based bodies. "They're targeting our specific vulnerabilities." Similar scenes played out across the station. The Eclipse Daggers, mercenaries with enhanced visual capabilities across multiple spectrums, found themselves in sections where human forces had prepared specialized light-based defenses. Oscillating electromagnetic pulses disrupted the daggers' sensory organs, rendering their primary advantage useless. The Void Specters, beings who could phase partially out of normal spacetime, discovered that humans had adapted quantum field generators to create localized distortions that forced them fully into material existence where they could be engaged directly. "How did they prepare countermeasures for our specific abilities?" demanded the Spectre commander as his forces were systematically isolated and neutralized. "This level of adaptation should be impossible without prior combat exposure. The mercenaries discovered too late that humans didn't just adapt to environments, they engineered them as weapons. Station sections depressurized, radiation shields failed selectively, and artificial gravity shifted unpredictably. All conditions that human special forces trained for, but that disoriented even the most battle-hardened alien warriors." In the central monitoring hub, General Wilson tracked the battle alongside her command staff. "The Quantum Fists are approaching Junction 17, reported a tactical officer. "Their energy manipulation abilities are neutralizing our conventional defenses." Wilson nodded. "Implement Phase 3 countermeasures." Throughout the station, human forces deployed specialized equipment designed to disrupt the unique energy fields the Quantum Fists generated. The mercenaries, accustomed to overwhelming opponents with pure energy manipulation, found their powers dampened by precisely calibrated interference patterns. "These countermeasures weren't developed overnight," realized the Fist commander, a being of semi-solid energy. "The humans have been studying us, preparing for this encounter." The Nebula Wraiths, gaseous entities contained in advanced combat suits, were perhaps the most feared of all the mercenary forces. Their ability to alter their composition allowed them to penetrate nearly any defense. As they infiltrated the station's life support systems, they expected to find vulnerable humans dependent on carefully regulated environments. Instead, they encountered special forces operators in environmental suits designed specifically to counter gaseous attacks. More shocking to the Wraiths, even when their attacks breached human protective gear, the soldiers continued fighting effectively despite exposure to toxins that should have been instantly debilitating. Their respiratory systems are filtering our compounds, transmitted a Wraith scout in disbelief, and those affected are continuing combat operations despite tissue damage that would incapacitate any rational species. The battle culminated when Wilson deliberately breached the station's main habitat ring, exposing all forces to the vacuum of space. The alien mercenaries, even with their advanced armor, found themselves facing humans who continued fighting, effectively in vacuum conditions, a capability evolved from Earth's frequent exposure to hypoxic environments and extreme pressure. Differentials, human forces, trained extensively for zero-gravity combat in vacuum conditions, methodically eliminated mercenary units caught unprepared for this extreme tactic. Their specialized vacuum combat suits allowed them mobility and life support, while emergency nanomedicine systems counteracted the effects of brief exposure during suit damage. They're deliberately using vacuum as a weapon, transmitted the Talon commander, as his forces retreated toward their vessels. What kind of species turns hard vacuum into a tactical advantage? One that evolved on a Deathworld and then trained to survive even worse conditions, replied General Wilson over an open channel, ensuring all mercenary forces could hear. One that never stops adapting. As the mercenary coalition fragmented and retreated, Wilson addressed the Galactic Council directly via emergency broadcast. You sent your best to eliminate us because you fear what we represent. Understand this, we didn't become the apex species of a Deathworld by accident. Every human carries 4 billion years of successful adaptation within them. We don't want war, but we are prepared for it in ways you cannot imagine. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. Earth extends an offer of peaceful coexistence to the Galactic Council and all sentient species. We come to the stars as explorers and neighbors, but make no mistake, we will defend our people wherever they may be. The mercenary forces you sent today learned what others before them discovered. Humanity's special forces aren't just soldiers. They're the evolutionary champions of the most dangerous planet known to galactic science. In the aftermath, emergency meetings convened across the galaxy. As the implications became clear, mercenary guilds unanimously implemented Terran protocols, refusing contracts against humans regardless of payment. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy shared a common assessment. Conventional military doctrine is ineffective against human adaptive capabilities. Recommend immediate diplomatic engagement. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity as representatives from thousands of worlds gathered for a historic session. At the center stood General Wilson, accompanied by a diplomatic team from Earth.